Kentucky, Mr. Barr, for 5 minutes.
Director, I'm looking at a survey right now. 7 out of 10 consumers rank good fraud protection as their top consideration when choosing a financial service provider. And it stands to reason, because in 2023, total global fraud costs reached almost $500 billion, including payments, check, and credit card fraud. This is clearly a major risk to our financial system, institutions, and American consumers. Unfortunately, your regulatory efforts will actually decrease financial institutions' ability to provide meaningful fraud protection by making it more costly to provide these services. For example, your flawed credit card late fee, overdraft, and the credit card reporting rules or guidance on remittance transfers. Impeding a financial institution's ability to charge consumers for a service they provide is your attempt to make financial institutions public utilities and not free market businesses. Do you recognize, Director Chopra, that fraud detection and prevention is very, very important, number one? And number two, do you recognize, and I know you care about consumers, do you recognize that the junk fee, the quote-unquote junk fee agenda will actually hurt consumers by reducing fraud prevention?
So let me be very clear. What you're saying is not accurate in my view, respectfully. We have done so much to make sure that we can do more to detect and deter fraud. I think fraud, when it comes to identity theft, when it comes to the use of generative AI, is going to be an increasing issue, and even old school check fraud is increasing.
I agree, but have you actually?
But I do not.
I agree, Director. We're reclaiming my time. I agree that AI and all these other technological innovations can help with fraud prevention, but do you actually talk to the financial service providers that you oversee about the junk fee agenda and how that's going to reduce their ability to invest in fraud protection? Do you actually talk to them about this, the regulated entities that you oversee? Because they tell us
very frequently.
Well, they tell us that you don't listen, because what they're telling us is that your junk fee agenda is going to limit their ability to prevent fraud. And I want you to take a look at that. I think you need to take a look at that, because if you don't, it's all junk economics.
Well, we are doing a lot
second
more.
Second question. Let me move on, because I want to talk about data that's supposed to undergird your administrative decision making. Under your leadership, the data collection efforts and cost-benefit analysis have simply lost credibility. The Bureau has played fast and loose with the data you rely on, ultimately leading to harmful rulemakings that rely on junk economics. For example, the Bureau's so-called analysis of the deterrence effects of late fees is largely unjustified speculation that favors political results you seek. The overdraft rule ignores market trends and innovation and instead cites data that's more than decades old. In the credit card late fee rule, your calculation of the impact to annual percentage rates changed significantly between the release of the proposed and final rules, relying on a mere assumption from a previous academic paper rather than any credible quantitative analysis. The mortgage closing costs RFI cites only 2 data points. Shockingly, for the credit header provision of the FCRA rulemaking outline, you aren't even appealing to data at all. So, Mr. Chopra, with so many examples of misuse or complete avoidance of data and increasing use of unjustified conclusions from what can only be loosely called analysis, how can the public or Congress trust the rulemakings or the administrative decisions that you promulgate?
Well, some of it is really a balance. We try and make sure that we're using existing data that's already there, because we often get feedback, including from you, about doing too much collections. So we will rely and look at old studies as well as new studies to see changes in the market. I would say empiricism is a foundational part of the CFPB's work, because that is a lens in how we can make the best possible decisions. I agree, sometimes we won't always have the newest and freshest in fast-moving markets, but it's also a balance about making sure we're not engaging in too much burden as well.
You've got to do a lot better job, because you just don't have credibility. The data is not there to support any of what you're doing.
I would respectfully disagree.
I know you disagree with that. I disagree with you about that. The Bureau should want rigorous cost-benefit analysis to defend the Bureau's decisions. This is in the interest of the Director's office. It's in the interest of the Bureau to have defensible data, and you don't have it. Final question, Director Chopra. Who decides if a civil investigative demand appeal is approved or denied?
So with CIDs, sometimes they go to a district court, sometimes they can go to appeal to the director. Oftentimes it's negotiated.
Yeah, so
before
my
it
time
goes
has
through that
expired,
appeal
but this is the
process.
problem. You are the judge, jury, and executioner, and that's why people don't see the process
Gentleman's
as due
time's
process. I yield.
Gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Velasquez.